very good morning to one and all once again. So I'll be talking about these topics in my presentation. One is a brief energy scenario, like what is the global level energy scenario, the fossil fuel requirement, fossil fuel consumption, as well as renewable energy status of renewable energy, both global as well as Indian scenario. And there are many renewables available as energy sources. But why I'm focusing on bioenergy? What is the special advantage of bioenergy when compared to both fossil fuels as well as other green energy sources? I'll be touching upon this topic a little bit. Then bioenergy conversion routes. This is the main thing in my presentation. There are many routes available for bioenergy conversion. Each routes end up with a specific product which is suitable for certain applications. So I'll be discussing all these types of conversion methodologies or conversion routes, and this is the focus of my presentation. Then I'll be giving little bit details about all these conversion routes, what is the current status, and what are the R&D going on in this various conversion technologies. And also, of course, with what are the limitations of few conversion technologies. Then what is the research area, especially in biodiesel, since we are working on biodiesel for many years in our laboratory. So what are the research opportunities available in biofuel or biodiesel production area? Then what is the final, as an outcome, what is the final strategy that should be adopted for sustainable growth of India? This is the gist of my presentation. Now let's see, if you see this table, energy scenario global, as we have seen, the oil, the unit is exajoules, and in bracket and parenthesis I have given the gigatons also. Oil, the per year energy consumption is 193 exajoules, or which is equivalent to 4.61 gigatons. And out of the total, all the primary energy sources, the share of oil is around 33.1%, which is the highest among all the primary energy sources. And gas means natural gas, 141.2 exajoules, which converts to 3.95 million cubic meter, or million cubic meter, which is 24.2, the next highest or the third highest share among all the primary energy sources. And coal, 157.9, which is 27%. Renewables, particularly excluding hydroelectric, it is 29 exajoules, around 5%. Hydro, 6.4%. Nuclear, globally it is 4.3%, but when it comes to India, it's hardly 1.6 to 1.8%. And totally, we are consuming per year 583.9 exajoules. Exaj means 10 raised to 18. Peta means 10 raised to 15, and trillion means 10 raised to 12. So we are consuming 583.9 exajoules of energy per year. The statistics pertains to 2019, and of course in 2020 this would have come down a bit, maybe 2% less than the figure shown for 2019. So the percentage change here, there is a 10 years comparison in the last column. In 2009, the comparison between 2009 and 2019, it is 21% increase in the total energy consumption. This is the point which is of significance. Means every year we are consuming more energy. It may be 3% higher than the previous year energy consumption, as an and the energy growth rate we call, it's around 3% globally. But the consequence of this one is quite large. All over world, we are facing the global warming. As we are sitting here in the month of April, you can always feel the heat. Of course, global warming is something different from local temperature variations. It's a very complex phenomena. Still, I can say year by year, the atmospheric temperature is going up because of our energy consumption, particularly fossil fuel energy consumption. As you have seen in the table, almost 80% of our total energy comes from oil, gas, and coal. And these are, of course, we have not included the non-commercial energy sources. Like particularly when you talk about biofuels, we are using biofuels in a significant amount, but mainly in the field of non-commercial region. So, but when I talk about primary energy, means it is commercial energy source, and almost 80% comes from non-renewable or fossil fuel based energy sources. Now, this is regarding the biofuel. Of course, I will come to the topic why biofuel. But before that, when I talk about the energy scenario, I should mention about the biofuel production. So this is the region-wise production, and biofuel means mainly we have two. Currently, the current status is we produce and consume two types of biofuels. One is bioethanol and another one is biodiesel. Of course, biodiesel is very less when compared to bioethanol. Bioethanol means mainly in Europe and US, they are produced from agro products like maize or potato, like that. These types of carbohydrate, products. So North America, 2009 and 2019, the comparison is given 350,000 billions of oil equivalent, barrels of oil equivalent. BOE means barrels of oil equivalent, means converted to petroleum equivalents. So 350,000 barrels of oil equivalent, and in 2019 it is 620, means there is a jump almost twice the amount what we were consuming in 2009 or what we were producing in 2009. So it's a significant development in terms of biofuel usage. And biodiesel, it is from 35 to 120,000 barrels of oil equivalent. So again, there is a 3 times jump in the biodiesel production. And South Central America, again, there is 270, 380. Biodiesel, it is 35 to 125. And when you come to Asia Pacific, where India is also a part of this region, India, China, and other countries, 25 in 2019, very small amount, and 2019 it is 60, almost twice the amount in 2009. Whereas biodiesel, if you take, in 2099, it was 25,000 barrels of oil equivalent, whereas in 2019 it is 200, means there is a significant jump, almost 8 times jump in the production of biodiesel. Means particularly in Asia Pacific region, we are concentrating more on biodiesel rather than bioethanol. And being a tropical country, southern part of Asia Pacific region is a tropical country, there is lot of scope for getting raw material for biodiesel. Accordingly, we can see a significant jump in the production of biodiesel in the last 10 years. And the last row is for total. And if you compare this, say if in 2019 it is 130,000 barrels of oil equivalent for bioethanol, whereas 795 barrels of oil equivalent for biodiesel, whereas petroleum consumption in 2019 is 92,600 barrels of oil. Of course, this is oil only, but if you compare these two, let's say 1,130 plus 7, let's say 2,000 and 92,600, there is hardly any comparison between bioenergy, what we are currently consuming, and the petroleum. Basically include both petrol, diesel, as well as other products of petroleum. Put together, it is 92,600. So you can see there is no comparison between the biofuel energy what we are consuming today and the petroleum products what we are consuming in the year 2019. But Does that seem to be very, pessimistic? Like, no, there is lot of scope for biodiesel, but unfortunately we are not cashing that or converting that into actual products. There are various technologies you can see in my coming slides. But when we say fossil fuel consumption, we should always talk about carbon dioxide emission. The single largest or the biggest problem the whole planet is facing is the global warming. All other associate problems like tropical forest degradation, biodiversity, decrease in the biodiversity, or uh, food security, or water crisis, or drought, or flood. All these are related, are the associated problems of global warming. So global warming aggravates many problems, basically food and water. So the reason for global warming is the emission of carbon dioxide into atmosphere. And emission of course, there is methane part also, but methane, effect of methane emission is insignificant when compared to effect of carbon dioxide emission. We pump out around 34 gigatons of carbon dioxide every year into atmosphere. So when we talk about fossil fuel energy, we should always talk about carbon dioxide emission. So here the graph gives the global picture of carbon dioxide emission, again region wise. So in 2019, the global emission of it is in million tons. North America 5,976, and Europe around 4,000, and earlier USSR 2,000. Asia Pacific 17,270. Even though Asia Pacific contains underdeveloped and developing countries by and large, still the total carbon dioxide emission from Asia Pacific region, of course Japan is also included in Asia Pacific, and there are many few developed but small countries in Asia Pacific region, but the total emission from Asia Pacific region is much higher when compared to even US, 17,270 million tons of carbon dioxide per year. So we need to be concerned about the amount of carbon dioxide we are pumping in and pumping out to atmosphere, and the reason behind this is consumption of fossil fuels. So there many people talk about, when we say biofuel, they say, can we replace this with fossil? Can the quantity available is sufficient to replace the fossil fuels? Even if it is not so, let's say it may not be true, but let's say per se if it is not true, do we have any alternative? That is the question. Can we afford to pump out so much of carbon dioxide into atmosphere just because there is no alternative for fossil fuel? If there is no alternative, we have to cut down the energy consumption. There is no other go, or there is no other solution at all when you consider the large scale problems associated with burning fossil fuel. So there is one more column, row, that is India also. India, it is in 2009, 1,596 million tons, whereas in 2019, it is 2,480 million tons. Currently, we are in the fourth place in terms of total carbon dioxide emission per year. And the percentage for Asia Pacific is 30.4. Now, why I showed carbon dioxide emission is, you should always keep this in mind in the background when you discuss about the renewables. We are not finding out a 100% alternative for fossil fuels, but we are finding out an alternative with which we can comfortably live in this planet for many centuries. Otherwise, we are going to, there will be disastrous consequences in burning fossil fuel to maintain our comfort conditions what we are enjoying. So that one should keep that in background while discussing whether it's biofuels or any other renewables. Now this slide gives you energy scenario in brief for India. our population is around 17% of the world population, but 0.8% of the world known oil and natural gas resource. Means we don't have sufficient fossil fuel available in our country, whether it is crude petroleum or CNG or natural gas. And the production in 2019 is 14.3% of our total oil requirement of 266 million tons. Means currently we are consuming around 262 million tons. Out of that, 50 to 55% is for gasoline or petrol and diesel, and the rest is for other products that we get from crude petroleum. Out of this, we get hardly in our country 14.3%. Means very small amount is indigenously produced, whereas rest all means around 85% is imported. So as we have seen in the last 3-4 months, the petrol and diesel prices are going up because of international market prices are going up after first phase of COVID. So our indigenous product is hardly contributing towards 14.3% of our total consumption. Now, if you talk about electricity, currently we have 357,000 megawatt, and as on May 2019, and 60%, 57% of the electricity generation is from coal. This is also a matter of concern for us. So coal is the major source for carbon dioxide emission, and 57% of our electricity is generated using by burning coal only. So we need to replace coal with other alternatives. Is it possible? It is possible, provided we look into various other energy, green energy sources and use them in a proper way. Now, the loss of power in transmission and distribution in our country is around 30%, whereas international standard is around 7 to 11%, whereas in India it's around 30%. Even if we bring this losses to say 14%, we would be saving almost half, almost significant amount of the installed capacity becomes redundant, and we can stop burning coal to that extent. Now, how we have to select the energy source? What are green energy means? There are so many sources and so many end products. All of them are not suitable for all the applications, and few are suitable for few applications. We have to look into other aspects of energy production and consumption also while selecting a particular energy source. The first and foremost thing is it should be eco-friendly, of course, carbon neutral, and it should be sustainable, means should be available forever. This is the first criteria. It should also address employment opportunities, income generation, and arrest urban migration. See, when we talk about energy as a commodity, we always associate that with economics, whether it is cheaper, whether it is economically viable. But what is the role of economics in the development of a society? That we should understand. Are we conducting any or using any technology just for the sake of reducing the cost, or for other purposes also, or which is for which purpose we have to give priority? See, when we talk about technology, whether it can give employment to many people or few people are accommodated and you are getting more, is it production by mass or production to masses? That we should think. And for India, country like India, which has 1.3 billion population, employment opportunity is superior to economics. So the energy selected should give employment to majority, and it should of course give income to people. And another major problem country is facing is the urban migrations. So rural people are migrating towards cities in search of employment, in search of other amenities. So the energy source which we select should arrest urban migration, in the sense these sources should be produced in the rural areas. That is another criteria. It has to be decentralized in nature. This is another important aspect, because for anything, if I want to quote Schumacher, the person who wrote a nice book by name Small is Beautiful, he says any activity should be as small as possible. It can be a commercial business, it can be a production venture, or it can be any activity. So it should be as small as possible, and it should be decentralized. So that is the concept of Ramraj, of our Mahatma Gandhi also. He says each village should be an independent entity on its own. Means whatever is required for the village should be produced locally, and it should be consumed locally. Only few things which are not available and essential should be imported from neighboring villages. So this is the concept of sustainability also. So to get sustainability of any nature, the system should be decentralized. So the energy source should be decentralized. To give a comparison, the current ultra high thermal power plants or mega thermal power plants, they are centralized in nature. You mine the coal at one place, transport it to few 100 kilometers to some other site, produce power in large quantity at one place, again distribute it to different load centers in different places. This is a decentralized system, but this is in the end or in the long run, this is not going to be a sustainable one. So whatever the technology we adopt or whatever the energy source we adopt, it should be decentralized in nature. It should address various disparity, of course, social responsibilities also there. It should meet rural energy needs locally. There are many options available already, few are in current use. I'm not going to give details about it, just one line about each source. Now, of course, hydroelectricity, we know that rainfall is fluctuating, the intensity is changing because of global warming, and there is large scale displacement of habitation when you construct a hydropower plant, and there is large scale destruction of forest, wildlife, biodiversity, and so many things. So hydroelectricity is not suitable for us. Nuclear is again another disaster. We haven't solved the waste disposal problem. In spite of pumping large amount of money into this area, still the global, as you have seen in the previous slide, one of the slides, it is globally, it is contributing towards 4% of our total primary energy sources. In India, it is hardly 1.8%. But the amount of money that is being supplied or pumped into nuclear energy is very, very high. So that is not suitable as an energy source. Solar thermal, it is good, but it has day-night fluctuations, variations, and you need to have a storage. Solar photovoltaics, same problem with solar thermal. Wind and wave, very small. Of course, wind is significant when we talk about the current electricity generation breakup. Wind is around 12 to 15% of our total electricity generation, but the sites are few and they are limited. So once you exhaust these sources, then you cannot expand the wind energy source. Cogeneration means coal with biofuels, maybe the temporary stopgap arrangement, I should say. And lastly, biomass or biofuels. We will see what are the specific advantages of biofuels. Now, why bioenergy? Fossil fuels are fast depleting and polluting. There are two aspects for commercial or the fossil fuels. One is most of them are depleting in nature. They are exhaustible sources of energy, and they are highly polluting, whether it is petroleum or coal or natural gas. Relatively, there may be higher and lower amount of pollution, but by and large, all the fossil fuels are highly polluting in nature. And bioenergy, and already we have an established system where we need energy at a very large scale. If you go for solar thermal, the quantity of generation can be very small. Or even if you go for photovoltaics, per square meter, we may get around 200 watts. I mean, when you talk about electricity, 200 watts or 250 watts. Um, Whereas biofuels, you can generate energy of the order of megawatts or even 100 megawatts in a small area. So it is almost at par with any other conventional energy source. So this is one major advantage of biofuel when compared to other green energy sources. Where while the other green energy sources are dilute in nature, biofuel is concentrated in nature. And of course, it is CO2 neutral and it is available everywhere, particularly for a tropical country like India. Biofuel is available everywhere, whether you go to Kanyakumari or Himalayas. Different types of biofuel species are available. You can harvest them and convert them into appropriate uh, end energy form. And large quantity of agro residue. We are an agrarian country and we have large amount of agro residue available with us. Particularly when you see the pollution problem in Delhi and other parts of northern India, it is mainly because of burning of agro residue. And if we collect these agro residue with some good technologies and bale them, already technologies are available, and use them for energy conversion, then it becomes a significant amount of raw material, and it is a sustainable and perpetually available raw material. And energy plantation, of course, we have lost large amount of degraded wasteland, and in these wasteland we can grow fast growing plants species and use them as our energy sources. So there are other few advantages also. um, Boost agricultural sector, since this raw material is directly associated with rural economy and also associated with farmers, it will boost the agricultural sector. That is another, you get better higher value for agro residue. That's why the agricultural economy improves. And we have other waste, other raw materials like municipal solid waste, MSW. This is also another important raw material in terms of biofuel. Already we are using significant amount of bioenergy in our daily energy mix. If you see here, coal, natural gas, diesel, petrol, LPG are compared with firewood, agro residue and cow dung. And focus your attention to the third column where the usage million metric tons per year is given. Coal is 730, natural gas 28.9, diesel and petrol put together 149 million metric tons, and firewood already we are using 250 million metric tons per year, but not as a commercial energy source, but we are using as a traditional energy source. Agro residue around, even though the potential is around 1000 million metric tons, currently we are using around 350 million metric tons, and cow dung around 40 million metric tons per year. Means when you see the third column, we are the bioenergy is comparable to other sources of energy already in use. So if we can exploit this and also enhance this raw material quantity by various means, we can almost replace all types of fossil fuels and make the planet more green and more sustainable and more hospitable. So there is another bioenergy source which is generally neglected, that is waste. Waste as a source of energy. We have around 1000 million tons of, already I told you, 20 million tons of plantation waste is already available. 33 million hectares of wasteland is available in our country. If we can grow biofuel crops in this wasteland, we get around 33 million tons of non-edible oil. So non-edible oil means we can convert that to high-speed diesel or the transportation diesel, which is equivalent of 25 to 27 million tons. Now compare this figure with the current consumption of diesel. Current consumption of diesel is around totally diesel and petrol 149 means it's around 100 million tons is diesel consumption, and 25 to 27 million tons directly comes from wasteland alone. If we can cultivate this wasteland for biofuel crops, so this is one source. I'm talking about just one source, that is wasteland. And in addition to getting the non-edible oil seeds, we get 130 million tons of solid biomass also. We gain another energy source which is useful for various other applications. And one more important waste is 150,000 tons per day. The above figures are per year, whereas the last one is per day of urban solid waste or MSW, municipal solid waste or urban solid waste. 150,000 tons per day. So this is a huge quantity of waste. If we segregate them, use them subject to proper technological conversion route, we can harvest large amount of energy from this waste asset also. In total, what I want to say is we have sufficient quantity of bioenergy in India to replace all the fossil fuels. So there is another slide which also substantiate my statement regarding the potential of biofuels or bioenergy. So here you can see it is categorized into 4 types: solid biofuels, gaseous biofuels like biogas, bioethanol, and SVO. SVO means straight vegetable oil, and biodiesel. So the second column is regarding the type of raw material. The third one is important, the annual potential. Solid biofuel potential is around 300 million tons, excluding the energy crop that can be produced from wasteland. This is currently available, 300 million tons. And this can be with suitable technological development, with suitable cookers and other stoves. We can use it for rural cooking energy. So currently we are supplying LPG or the liquid petroleum to rural India also, which is again a fossil fuel. Whereas if we develop suitable cooking stoves using solid biofuels, it can replace the LPG for entire rural India. Cheap cooking fuel for rural India. Similarly, biogas, again another cooking fuel for both rural and urban India, because if we extract biogas and compress them, put it to cylinder, and we can transport it to urban areas also, or even if we use municipal sewage waste, we can generate biogas in urban area also and use it as a cooking fuel in urban area also. The potential is 25,000 million cubic meter of 95% pure methane. Biogas has carbon dioxide and moisture. If we extract or take out or remove carbon dioxide and moisture, we get 95% pure methane. The potential is 25,000 million cubic meter. So 1 cubic meter, if I say at atmospheric pressure 1 kg, that comes to 25 million tons of methane, pure methane as cooking fuel, which is quite significant, very substantial amount. And another bioethanol. In bioethanol, the first generation is a well-known technology, that is converting molasses and other starchy materials into ethanol using fermentation. Whereas the second generation means newly developed technologies even convert cellulosic and agro residue also into ethanol. If you combine them, it amounts to 50 billion liters of ethanol. It's a very, very high quantity, and this is more than the current gasoline consumption in India. So this is important. People say, how much quantity is available? Can we replace petrol? Yes, it is possible. Considering the first generation conversion technology, second generation conversion technology, bioethanol potential in India is sufficient to replace the entire gasoline or the petrol requirement in India. Similarly, we have SVO and biodiesel. SVO means straight vegetable oil without subjecting oil for conversion to biodiesel. We can directly use straight vegetable oil. We did a lot of experimentation in our laboratory also successfully with the funding from KSBDB and other sources. So with little bit of heating and adding petrol and other, to reduce the viscosity, we can directly use vegetable oil in engines. And the advantage of this one is rural India need not go to a petrol bunk or a diesel bunk to run their, device, run their tractors, power tillers, or gen sets. So the potential is 75 million tons of oil or 65 million tons of biodiesel. Again, in this type of fuel also, 100% replacement of fossil fuel or the fossil diesel is possible. It means the potential in India is sufficient to replace both petroleum and petrol as well as diesel. Okay, so I'm always fascinated with this bioenergy energy source. The reason is, you name any requirement, you can get it from bioenergy, and it is most sustainable and most green energy source. See here, this chart gives you the types of energy end products you get from a single source, that is bioenergy. If you subject bioenergy raw material into biological and biochemical routes, you get biogas, ethanol, and there is one more, that is algal technology. It's purely a biotechnology conversion method. Algae is another potential raw material. I'm not going to talk about this because I'm not an expert in this, but in principle, you can harvest algae, which actually harvest solar energy, and get large quantity of oil from algae. There are different kinds of algae, and you can extract oil and also food and other products using this source, that is algae. Apart from that, you have biogas and ethanol when you subject the raw material into biological and biochemical conversion methods. Now, if you subject bioenergy source into thermochemical conversion, you have broadly three types. One is direct combustion, this is a age-old technology like three-stone chula, burning the fuel, but with appropriate or sufficient quantity of air in a properly designed stoves. And you can gasify the raw material to get producer gas, which behaves like any other gaseous fuel. And also you can producer gas can be condensed to get pyrolysis oil, which is again a source of liquid fuel, plus many series of chemicals required for our industry. Means you get raw material for industry also from bio material. Then third type of conversion method is oil extraction or a chemical process. Again, esterification, biodiesel, or transesterification, another chemical conversion method. Another method is electrochemical, means you can get hydrogen from, say, producer gas, because producer gas is a mixture of hydrogen, methane, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and so many things. So you can separate out hydrogen, take air, oxygen from the atmosphere, and pass it through a fuel cell. You get electricity, and a byproduct is water, a clean conversion technology. So it becomes a biofuel cell. So fuel cell is now, it's almost an established technology, whereas you get hydrogen from fossil fuels. Whereas here we are talking about extraction of hydrogen from bioenergy and pass it through a fuel cell to get electricity, clean energy. So now let's quickly go through one by one. Biological conversion, I'm not going to discuss all this because it becomes a lengthy lecture, and I know it would be boring for you. You can always talk to me over email, or write to me over email if you want any extra information. I just touch upon various technologies here. Biological conversion, you have here biological biospecies are involved, like particularly bacteria are involved. One is fermentation, that is aerobic fermentation route, that is you get bioethanol, which is a replacement for petrol or gasoline. And biomethanation, again another bacterial species, different species of bacteria are involved in various stages. You get biomethane. And the third one is cellulosic conversion. This cellulosic conversion is a new technology. Now it is actually, if people are, if anyone is interested in working on biological conversion, they may consider cellulosic conversion, because already we have 2-3 technologies available in India, but they are all patented technology. One is ICT technology, DST ICT technology, Indian Chemical Institute, Technology Institute technology. Another is a project industries by Pune, but all are patented. But still, people can work on this as a research, do research in the cellulosic conversion and develop systems which can convert cellulosic material, like any raw material, like maybe a leaf or a grass or any raw material, and finally convert this to bioethanol. In fact, this is happening in the nature also. If you take, for example, you take any cow, it eats grass, but it needs carbohydrate. It needs finally sugar for its sustenance. How the cellulose is converted to sugar? That happens in their body. They have gut microbes which have the potential to convert cellulose into sugar, and the sugar is supplied to the different parts of the body, that is cells, and there it is digested and energy is released. So this, whatever is happening in the nature, now it is, we can use those microbes and convert the cellulosic material into ethanol in a laboratory also. So many industries have already developed this technology, but still there is large scope for cellulosic conversion of to cellulosic conversion to bioethanol from various biofuel raw materials. I skipped this because fermentation is a well-known technology. But what I want to add here is cellulose from wood and agricultural residues. Broadly, we get cellulose. One is directly, like, fodder, whether it is maize or paddy, or any wheat or any grass. It can be converted to sugar using certain, with the help of certain bacteria species, or even chemical routes. And but another significant quantity of raw material available is the wood. Wood contains basically lignin, cellulose, and hemicellulose. Even this wood can also be converted to sugar using certain conversion routes. In fact, the current technology development are going on in this direction only. Cellulose, grass and other fodder conversion is good. Already technologies are developed, but the problem is they are very lightweight. Means transportation is highly voluminous, and it contains large amount of moisture and so many other issues. Whereas, and also the fodder is required for our animals. Whereas wood, which we can grow in an energy plantation, can be converted to oil or gas, petrol or bioethanol. So this technology is attracting many researchers nowadays. So this is the schematic diagram of ethanol production, both from starches, natural sugars, and cellulose. The first one, natural sugar, it's a very old technology. Even people in their backyard, they do this, whether using juice extracts, you can convert that to crush them, and it is directly sugar only, and you can ferment it and get ethanol. So that is known technology. It's an age-old technology. Second step is the starch, like a grain and root of cassava or maize, any other carbohydrate material. So it is one more step is included, that is hydrolysis. You subject these carbohydrates to hydrolysis and convert that to sugar. And from sugar, it is fermentation to get ethanol. The third one, that is cellulose, particularly wood. It is a bit difficult technology. It's a high-end technology, but people are working on it. But you can break down this wood into hemicellulose, cellulose, and lignin. Lignin is a byproduct. Cellulose and hemicellulose can be converted to sugar with appropriate conversion technologies. Finally, you get the end product as ethanol. If I combine or consider all these three, in India, we have sufficient raw material to replace all the gasoline that is required for our transportation. We have done some work on this. We have used rain tree or Simania salmon to extract bioethanol successfully in JNNCE laboratory. So this gives you the scope. Okay, I skipped this. Now, second generation ethanol. This is what I was talking about, high-end technology. Already DBT ICT, Department of Biotechnology, Indian Chemical Technology Institute, Pune, they have developed this technology, and the importance or the significant feature of this one is that the quantity of bioethanol they have produced from the raw material, even including municipal solid waste, is quite significant. It's not a small laboratory scale technology. Already big plants have been installed, one in Kashipur in near Noida, and at many places already installed, and these technologies are working successfully. So the basic methodology is like this: biomass size reduction subjected to pre-treatment like acid treatment and etc. Saccharification, then fermentation with the help of yeast, and cell mass and lignin are the byproducts. They are good raw material for other industries also. And remove the moisture or the water content in the mix of fermentation product, and you get a clean alcohol. So another technology is the fractionation technology. So here also lignin is separated, cellulose and hemicellulose are separated, and the rest is same. The end product is sugar. Once you get sugar, it can be subjected to fermentation, and the end product will be bioethanol. Sorry. So this is about the DBT ICT new technology, that it has various stages like pre-treatment, ammonia treatment, and then distillation, and enzymatic hydrolysis, then fermentation. High cell density fermentation means it is highly compact in nature. It is 8 hours, 4 to 8 hours conversion, whereas in a conventional fermentation process, it requires 2 to 3 days, whereas the technology what has been developed by DBT ICT enzyme hydrolysis, this enzyme is separately extracted and used in the process of fermentation, which is known as high cell density fermentation. It's a very short duration technology, 8 hours, 4 hours to 8 hours, the fermentation gets over, and you get large amount of ethanol in totally 18 hours. Biomass to ethanol, entire process takes place in 18 hours as against 48 to 56 hours in the other globally available technologies. That is the plus point of this indigenous technology. So another one is anaerobic digestion, biomethanation. It's already, again, I skip few slides here because it's known. Broadly, biomethanation has 3 phases: hydrolysis, acidic phase, And in the hydrolysis phase, heavier hydrocarbons like starch, carbohydrate, and proteins are broken down into smaller molecules. And in the acidic phase, these organic acids they are converted to organic acids with the help of acid former bacteria. Then methane formation. So these acids are converted to methane and carbon dioxide with the help of methanogenic bacteria. This is a known technology, quite old. We are using this for last maybe more than 100 years. Start in the beginning, it started in Germany and then spread to all over entire world. I skip this. This is the old technology. Of course, now I want to draw your attention to this small device. In fact, this is from our house only. I'm using this for last 15 years, zero maintenance, and the output is liquid fuel. Any household can have this small device and use all their kitchen waste and convert that to biogas and use it there in their kitchen, and the waste is used as a good manure in their garden. And the advantages are many. One is you are converting waste to energy. The second one is municipality has no problem, or it has there is no headache for municipality to transport the waste generated in a house. Okay, so that is a small device, technologically not much to say, but a useful device to use convert raw material into energy. And this is another, somehow it's a neglected technology. I have visited a village near Pune, Devu, where one doctor called Mapuskar developed this technology. This is for converting human waste into gas without any health effects. So that is the plus point here. This is called Malaprabha gas plant. So quantity wise, you imagine we are 1.3 billion population. Each person produce around 100 to 125 grams of waste per day. So per day 125 grams into 130 crore. So much waste is generated, and it is a potential raw material for methane gas production. So but you need a suitable technology, and old technologies are available, but if the researchers come forward, they can make a compact, aesthetically clean or looking good device to convert human waste, and it becomes a major contribution to urban society. So again, in methane generation also, there is a recent technology that is called ICD, rapid aerobic digestion technology. The conventional methane formation technology requires around 30 days for conversion, depending upon the raw material. If the raw material is protein, it may be a bit lower. If the raw material is say carbohydrate, it is still lower. But if the raw material is say cow dung, then it requires 30 to 45 days. Whereas this ICT, rapid aerobic digestion technology, reduces its time requirement to few hours from 30 days. That is the plus point of this technology. It's a new patented technology. What they adopt here is basically rapid conversion, using conversion by waste to methane. Time of conversion conventional 25 days, rapid aerobic digestion 1 day, and if it is rice straw, it is 20 days in a conventional system, whereas in a rapid AD technology, it is 1 day. Means from 20 days, it is reduced to 1 day. That is the plus point. So the system becomes compact for the same amount of gas produced, and it becomes quite economical, and you can handle large quantity of waste in a small reactor using this ICT, rapid anaerobic digestion technology. Sorry, it is anaerobic digestion technology. I skip this. This is the flow chart. Thermal conversion, if I think 12. So this is another area of my work. where we have worked on gasification for quite some time. From 2004 to 2014, we worked on gasification in our laboratory. The basic principle thermal conversion is, in the earlier technologies, you get two things. One is the raw material for agricultural sector, and another one is the energy. Whereas in thermal conversion, you get only energy, no raw material for agriculture. That is the limitation. However, the advantage is the amount of energy that you get through thermal conversion route is much higher. Time required is very less, and the conversion efficiencies are very high in this route. Hence, this is adopted, and it is at par with coal conversion technology. So that is the advantage of this technology. Broadly, you have direct combustion, gasification, and pyrolysis. These are the three thermal conversion routes. How do you distinguish between these three? It is purely based on amount of air supplied, or it is known as equivalence ratio. Equivalence ratio, it is the ratio of actual air fuel ratio to stoichiometric air fuel ratio. So based on that, you can categorize this thermal conversion into three groups: direct combustion, gasification, pyrolysis. No air is supplied, it is pyrolyzed. High amount of air is supplied, that is stoichiometric equivalence ratio more than 1, it is direct combustion. If it is between, say, 0 to 0.4, then it is gasification. So this is the basic principle. I skip this. There are many advanced wood stoves available for direct combustion, but I should say, even now, even today, the good advanced wood stove has a conversion efficiencies of around 50%. That's all. So there is a lot of scope in improving the efficiency of typical wood stove which adopts direct combustion technology. But the advantages are, even in India, rural India, still 40% of the people use wood as their raw material for cooking. So if you give them a better stove, that will reduce the burden in fetching the raw material for them. So that is the advantage of this wood stove, but there is a lot of scope for improvement with appropriate air, depending upon the type of raw material. So the first one is raw logs. The second one is the pellet stove, where you convert wood material into pellets. And the third one is turbo stove, means extra air is supplied in order to improve the heat generation rate, not the efficiency. So pyrolysis, another technology. Again, I should say this is an age-old technology. Like when we learned to make charcoal, that day only we learned to use this pyrolysis. Pyrolysis means heating any material in the absence of oxygen. So the end product of pyrolysis are three broadly. One is solid, that is char. Second one is liquid, pyroligneous oil. It can be a raw material for industrial chemicals, as well as it can be a raw material for liquid fuel like petrol or diesel. And the third one is gaseous fuel, which is again a pure combustible fuel. So all the three are obtained by a single route called pyrolysis. So another one is the gasification. Gasification has the advantage of burning the wood with much higher efficiency. I said direct combustion stoves have an efficiency of around 50%, whereas gasification has an efficiency of around 85 to 90%. Means there is a significant jump in the conversion efficiency if you subject the raw material into gasification. So you get a end product as a gas. The gas producer, it is known as producer gas. It contains basically carbon monoxide, hydrogen, water vapor, and little bit of carbon dioxide also, and tar and other ash particles. I skip this. There are different devices available. Updraft gasifier, particularly for thermal energy extraction. Downdraft gasifier, if you want electricity as the end product, then you prefer a downdraft gasifier, because the producer gas is relatively clean with low tar content and less time for loading and suitable for IC engines. So IC engines can be coupled to generator to get electricity, but the efficiency is bit lower when compared to updraft gasifier. In our JNNCE, we have a updraft gasifier with an open top updraft gasifier. And we developed a gasifier stove for areca nut husk also in our laboratory. Now, the last one I'm talking about is the chemical conversion, that is biodiesel production. Recently, one SpiceJet aircraft flew from Dehradun to New Delhi using 25% bio diesel produced from Jatropha. So that is the recent one, but already globally, many efforts have been done to fly the commercial aircrafts using bioethanol as well as biodiesel. Means the importance of this one is we are now thinking of replacing the fossil fuel with biodiesel and bioethanol accordingly, and the quantity available is substantial. Otherwise, no one would have made any effort in flying an aircraft using biofuel. So why the reason why they are trying out is the quantity available is quite sufficient to run our aircraft using these biofuels. This is a recent news item. Okay. So I skip this, all about biodiesel. I don't want to take. So the basic conversion principle in biodiesel is, of course, there are many routes, but commercially available and easy to adopt is the transesterification, where you convert triglyceride present in any oil to alkyl ester, which is nothing but we call it as biodiesel, and another product is glycerol. So in principle, you can use any oil to get diesel, but in India we have adopted a policy not to use cooking oil because it's a food for us, to convert that into diesel. Only non-edible oil seeds plus also cooked oil or used oil is converted to biodiesel using this route. This is a chemical route and it's a well-established technology, but there are many other methods to convert oil into biodiesel. I'll just give you a list of them. No, but there are certain challenges in using biodiesel. One is lower energy density. When compared to diesel, fossil diesel, the energy density is less. Means you need to carry more fuel to get the same amount of energy. And low temperature operability. Operability means the biodiesel freezes at slightly higher temperature when that of petrodiesel. So particularly in cold climatic zones, this issue is to be addressed. Otherwise, the fuel tank gets freezed and there is no flow of fuel into engine. So these are the challenges, and research is going on to overcome these challenges, like adding some additives and other things. Storage stability. Biofuel is basically it can be easily degraded in the presence of moisture and air, and so hence storage is an issue. So additives should be used if it is to be stored more than a month. Currently, the people who use biofuel are advised to use them within 15 days of production. So if you add certain additives, the storage capability will increase. And acidity, so it gets converted, the fuel becomes acidic over a period of time. And biodiesel is susceptible to microbial degradation because it's a raw biofuel. Many bacteria, they act upon this oil. They are not inorganic, so they are organic. So they act upon this oil and they eat, and hence it gets degraded. So storage in moisture-free atmosphere is essential for biodiesel. But these issues can be tackled with the help of current research. So there are few slides regarding the type of raw materials, Shimaruba glauca. We have worked on this Thevacea pyromina. The advantage of this one is it's a it can grow in any atmosphere or any zones with almost less no water at all, and it can give, and it is green throughout the year and yields throughout the year, unlike other non-edible oil, forestry based oil seeds, where the yield is only once in a year for few months, 1 or 2 months. This yield of this particular fruit is throughout the year. So this is another, and it's also an ornamental plant. So this is the photograph of JNNCE Biofuel Center. And another important aspect of biodiesel industry is we get lot of byproducts, and easily we can convert the waste product into these byproducts and add value to it, and improve the economics of biodiesel conversion. Like seed shell can be converted to briquettes and converted to manure, and it can be converted to composite laminates. Seed pulp, certain non-edible oil seeds have seed pulp, significant quantity, and they can be used for soft drink preparation, ethanol production, biogas production, like that. So you can use this pulp for various other products. Oil cake, that is leftover after extracting the oil, you get the cake can be used as a manure. It can be used as biogas, for biogas production. You can extract the toxic component present in the cake and can be used as an insecticidal agent. And detoxified oil cake can be used as a fodder. So you can go on giving so much of usages of various byproducts of biodiesel. We worked on biogas oil cake for biogas production. Crude glycerol can be used for preparing organic soaps, and you can purify that to pharmaceutical grade also. So these are the products from JNNC IND Center. Biocompost. I skipped, I think, yeah, glycerol purification can be done to pharmaceutical grade. So these are the research areas, particularly in the area of biodiesel. Research in cultivation aspects, research in seed sorting, decortication, depulping technologies, research in oil extraction methods, biodiesel production procedures, standardization of protocol development, research in biodiesel usage, particularly end site usage, research in byproduct utilization. And as I said earlier, there are many techniques available for biodiesel production. The current method requires large amount of water. That is one limitation. And it requires heating. So energy requirement is there. So to overcome these issues, there are new techniques that are being developed using sonochemistry principle to accelerate the reaction time. Means you can reduce the hours required to convert to subject the for esterification reaction. Use of bioenzymes for biodiesel production. Microwave assisted biodiesel production to speed up the esterification process. Reduction in the time required for biodiesel production using cooling jacket. Cold process is also being developed. Water free process means, as I said, 1 liter of biodiesel requires around 12 liters of water for its production. So significant amount of water is required. Of course, to some extent you can reuse that water, or you can develop byproducts from this washed water also. In our laboratory also we have developed few byproducts. But again, water is a precious commodity. We need to do our activity with less water as possible. So water free process is also being developed in JNNC Center. So I think ion exchange technique is there. Chromatographic techniques, that is using adsorption gel to separate diesel and glycerol. The last one I want to talk about is the bioref. Probably this is the latest technology wherein you get both energy and food and chemical, not just two, many, and also chemical products for further requirement of industries. So next generation biorefineries based on artificial photosynthesis featuring ultra high energy efficiency and low water consumption could produce a large amount of carbohydrate, that is food, and or other biocommodities from hydrogen to electricity and carbon dioxide. You name anything, you get it from biorefinery, single system. If you want food, you can use appropriate enzymes. If you want energy, you can use another set of enzymes. If you want industrial products, you can use another set of enzymes, but the reactor is same, the input is same. So this is going to come in a big way, that is biorefinery. Already a few companies are working on this, but there is a lot of scope for research in this thing. Okay, I'm coming to the end. Energy strategy for India. No single alternate source can meet our energy needs and aspirations. Make the best of our resources and indigenous efforts. Keep environment first. Environment first means always while developing any technology, you see whether it is whether it is against our environment or for environment. So primary concern is environment. Keep it simple. Involve people and youth. We need to give jobs for people, not to develop a technology wherein you get end products with very few people involved. Agro-hearty forestry. This is the future. Means agroforestry can give you oxygen, can give you water, can give you food, can give you shelter, can give you energy. So the future is not single type of agricultural system. It is agro-hearty forestry combined together. It is forest species, horticultural species, and agricultural species. All three are put together in a same area, and that gives you food, energy, and water. Solid waste, household waste to generate gas. So the last one, traveling through India, I came to the conclusion that there was no salvation for India except through trees. With the aid of trees, and at least 3/4 of the earth could supply human needs, not only food but for clothing, fuel, shelter, and basic needs. This is written by Shivamoga. I quoted him earlier also in his book Forest Farming, Prosperity for India. In the forward note, he wrote this. So that's all from my side. Thank you. Thank you very much.